buckle up. It's time to take the trip, buckle up.
You're listening to the Take the Trip podcast, where you'll find real talk and zero filter. I'm your host, Kendra Fogarty, and today I'm here with no one, as it's this month's solo episode. And today I'm going to be talking to you about 8 things that we would have done differently from the start of our RV journey. So thank you so much for being here. The first is that we would have been more intentional about community from the start. So this just wasn't really a goal of ours at the beginning. It wasn't really on my radar, honestly. We had been really burnt out when we first hit the road, even just socially, and felt like I wanted to just be a hermit. I was in like a hibernation stage kind of, and I just wanted to be with my family. So it wasn't really something we thought about at first, but then the loneliness caught up to us pretty quickly. And I had wished that we had been more intentional from the start. When we did start finally focusing on friendships, we made some really good friends, a family that we really clicked with well. And we had planned like the entire summer basically to travel together. And it was so great. And then they had to get off the road unexpectedly. It was really, really sad for everyone. And then I was like, I had this moment too where I was like, shoot, was I supposed to make like more than one friend? Like that was news to me. So I had wished that we had been a little more intentional from the beginning and maybe perhaps more open to making friendships. I wish we would have been to a rally sooner too. After we had that summer then where our plans had kind of changed, and that was fine. We did meet some nice families along the road. We did go to our first rally and that went pretty well. And so I do think that it would have helped though if we had gone to a rally sooner, like within that first year, because at that point it was into our second year that we had attended our first rally. There are different options for rallies, like through escapers, and full-time families is an option too. Just put a disclaimer out there. The clicks can be a little bit tricky, I'm not gonna lie, but can still be worth it. We've made some of our very best friends from full-time families rally, but there are some different things just to kind of be aware of when trying those out. And there's also some independent RV parks that are now offering rallies, such as Aspen Ridge in Colorado. They do a big Halloween event and they have some spring teen events and things like that too. So there's lots of options out there if you are looking to kind of build your community. The second thing that I would have done differently is to not have bought stuff unless we actually knew we were going to need it. Just from the start, we had the generator, the Blue Boy, the heated hose, all the adapters, all the things. And we've used the Blue Boy one time, and the heated hose we've used one time. We don't really camp when it's cold, so that hasn't been necessary. And those are really shockingly expensive. Someone actually cut ours, which was really sad and really disappointing. I don't know how it could have been an accident, honestly, so I don't know what we were doing wrong out there, but there's that too. And then the generator. We carried around this heavy, huge generator with us for a couple years, and we never used it. So we were finally like, why do we have this? Because we weren't boondocking at all, really. And it just didn't really make sense for our setup. So that's another thing I'd look into too, boondocking. How much are you really going to do it? Are you set up for it in a way that you're going to be comfortable? And that type of thing, and not just spending money on all the things just because you think you need them. Wait until you actually need them before you purchase them. For the most part. I mean, there's some things like for emergency stuff, like you're going to want to have that on hand, right? The third thing that I would do differently would have been starting social media from day one, actually, or even before we left the road. I think it would have been really fun to document our transition from sticks and bricks to life on the road. We actually waited 2 years to even start anything, and we were just doing memes at first too, so we weren't really sharing about our lives at all. But if I would have started sooner, I would have made way more friends and connections from the start. And I would have learned a lot of tips from other accounts too, because I also didn't actually follow anyone before we hit the road. Like I don't even think I watched one video. My husband might have watched a few. I was in the Facebook groups, which did have some helpful information, even if now, knowing what I kind of know now after doing this for several years, I think some of the opinions that were shared, I don't agree with now after living it. So you kind of have to be cautious there too. But anyways, I do think that if I had thought at any point that I might want to do content creation, that I would have just started from the beginning. We also had some really epic experiences in our first year, and while I have pictures of them, I don't have any video clips, and I just wish I did so that I could share those recommendations and those adventures too. The fourth thing that I'd be do differently was how we communicated some different promises to our families and friends in our hometown about how often we would be able to visit. We really thought that it was going to be a much smaller deal to just kind of swing by and like, yeah, we can come by for a weekend or a week. And it's actually much more difficult for a lot of reasons to be able to make those return trips and to be able to spend as much time there that we thought we would be spending. So it's just time is a lot more limited and it's much more complicated to make those returns than we thought it was when we originally made the switch. Some of that does have to do with my husband's job because he does have to be in specific territories for some months of the year. But even before that, we learned that it was just not easy to return home and it was very challenging to fly home. We had flown home the first Christmas we were on the road, which just seemed like kind of a simple thing, but flying from a house is just much different from flying from an RV. There's a lot more you need to consider as far as storing it, just like winterizing it, all the things. Like it's not a house which just stays there and it's fine if you leave. It's totally different. So it was quite a hassle and that was such a learning experience. And now we aren't really trying to fly home much, but then it's also very difficult to drive home that often as well. The fifth thing that we would change is our budgeting plan from the start. When we first hit the road, we treated it like a vacation and we really should have stretched our savings like way, way, way further. There was really no good excuse for how quickly we had kind of honestly blown through some of the money that we took with us to hit the road. We were really excited and we were doing really cool things. We were really enjoying the areas and exploring all the awesome local restaurants and everything, but we really should have been a little bit more mindful of our money at that point. The sixth thing that we would have changed was our RV selection, particularly the layout and type. So the first kind of decision we had made when we were deciding what kind of rig to purchase was whether it might be a travel trailer or a fifth wheel or, a motorhome like a Class A, B, or C. So we knew pretty quickly that a fifth wheel was going to feel like the ideal choice for our family. But then it came down to deciding if we should get a toy hauler or a mid-bunk. The toy hauler at that time to us, it kind of just seemed like lighting an extra like 20 to 30K on fire. And we just didn't really see the benefits at that time when our kids were little, because in our minds, we were like, well, we're not going to have a golf cart or anything like that. So we don't need that. And if the mid-bunks have the bedroom, why would we spend $30,000 extra to have them in a toy hauler bedroom instead of just a mid-bunk bedroom? However, now that we've been in it a while, we really do see the benefits of a toy hauler as the kids have gotten older. That space just is a lot bigger. It's nice because a lot of them have the second bathroom. And from what we've heard, they're actually insulated more nicely too. The toy hauler would also come in really handy if we ever have to replace something like the refrigerator or something else that's a large item that we don't exactly know how we would be able to get it in the door. So there are definitely still pros and cons, honestly. For example, we have a huge back window in the back of our fifth wheel, and I love that to be able to stare, outside. So we have some really beautiful sights if it's, a back in, but I really enjoy how I feel like I'm kind of out in nature because we have so many windows in the space. And having a toy hauler, obviously that would then just be the wall if you were in the living space, unless you were on that back deck, which would be really nice too. So there's just a lot of different things to consider, and every family is different for what is going to work best for them. But I do wish we had thought a little bit more long-term into the future or actually analyzed the pros and cons of the toy hauler layout a little bit more before we went with the mid-bunk. Next thing I wish that we would have researched a little better as it related to our rig selection was just the brand. I wish we would have asked around more about some experiences. For example, we do have friends that just had their Grand Design repaired. It was in pretty bad shape and it was way out of warranty. And Grand Design actually had a tech drive all the way to them in California, and they repaired it for free. And then when our friends were really grateful and thanks Grand Design, what they replied is that they said that they're making customers for life, not just for that one purchase. And I think that's just a beautiful philosophy. I love that they repaired that for our friends. We personally have a Keystone and we haven't felt supported by their customer service team. And interestingly enough, they recently blocked us on Instagram. I swear I wasn't harassing them. We had just shared a post with our honest experiences and just raising awareness to the fact that different brands are going to have different warranties and different policies, and that they're going to handle issues in very different ways, and that it's important to be talking to owners to find out, have they had a positive experience or not? The comments made it seem like many other Keystones were kind of sharing our frustrations, and I don't know if they're following the philosophy of working to have customers for life. But anyway, they had blocked us after that post, which really surprised me. Really surprised me. And just for a little backstory on that too, just so you kind of have the whole picture, we have called and emailed Keystone several times throughout the duration of our experience here. And we've always just kind of received that it's out of warranty, which is okay. I don't expect them really to fix things out of warranty, but I guess it's always worth it to try just to know for sure, because there's a lot of brands that do help out quite a bit when something is out of warranty. So it's just good to be aware of those brands that are willing to be more supportive of their owners. And then I had commented, a friend had actually posted a reel about her Keystone, and I had just shared in the comments that, I hope that it was able to be resolved and that we hadn't had an experience where we were able to reach a resolution with Keystone. And then Keystone had commented publicly on that, and they just said, well, hey, we want to help. We don't like to hear that. Would you please send us a DM? Which I was like, wow, okay, that's great. We might be getting somewhere here. So we sent them a DM. We had the same conversation then, essentially, where it was just like, well, this is out of warranty. So we kind of understood that and we're like, okay, expressed kind of our disappointment. I wasn't aggressive or anything like that, but just wanted to clarify that they were in fact not willing to work with us like in any way. And then after that, we had just, shared an awareness post about the importance of researching different brands. And then that's when they blocked us, which was just really surprising because we weren't, lying. We really weren't being dramatic about it. We just think it's really important to share honest experiences. So all that to say, we wish we would have shopped around more when we had purchased our RV. We actually only saw 3 rigs, including this one, when we bought ours. So we were just like too excited, and we probably should have been a little more intentional and maybe more willing to drive elsewhere, because we were also limited in Northeast Ohio. We were searching, but if we had been willing to drive further to check some out, we might have been able to find something that would have been a better fit for our family. And also at the time, the rig did not seem old because it was barely used. They were like weekenders, but they very, very rarely used it. So the condition was impeccable. So we thought we were just getting kind of an amazing deal, but we really didn't know about the 10-year rule for RVs. That wasn't something that was kind of on our awareness, that if we were planning to use the RV for a certain amount of time, that we would run into challenges with that. So that's just something to be mindful of. We knew at that time we didn't want to have one that was manufactured after 2020, just because there was a lot of talk at that time about the COVID rigs. I don't know how much fact is there as far as were rigs manufactured in that time. Are they really worse quality than the ones before or the ones they're making now? I really don't have the answer to that. But at that time, we wanted one that was built before COVID. So we thought we just really got lucky because we found this rig that was built right before COVID, seemed to be in amazing shape, but then we just didn't think that we would have as many issues as we did, essentially. So the final thing that we wish that we had done differently, and this was actually when I asked my husband what he would add, he said that he would want to put our Timber and SES kit on the truck from the start. So, and I agree with that too. As the passenger, I don't know as much about how it feels to tow, but I know what it feels like to be a passenger, and I often work while I'm in the truck, and a smooth ride is very important, and the Timbrins made it so much more smoother, a much more enjoyable experience, and we've been really impressed. So that was one of our favorite upgrades that we've made, that it took us a couple years, and it would have been best if we had just done that right from the get-go. All right, so thank you for being here. I'm wondering if you have anything to add. What would you have done differently? Is there any of these that you agree with or don't agree with? I would love to hear from you over on Take the Trip Fam. It would also mean the world to me if you would leave a review and subscribe if you're enjoying the real talk here on Take the Trip podcast. Safe travels, y'all.